Susan Boyle is back on stage after a scary health challenge. The singer returned to Britain's Got Talent this week to deliver an emotional rendition.
How does someone go from a quiet life in a small Scottish village to becoming one of the most inspiring voices the world has ever heard, only to almost disappear from the spotlight? Susan Boyle's story isn't just about overnight fame. It's a powerful reminder of resilience, hidden struggles, and surprising comebacks. From breaking internet records to battling personal and health crises, her journey challenges everything we think we know about success and reinvention. Millions were captivated when Susan's voice shattered expectations on stage. But what happened after the applause faded? The answer is a mix of heartbreak, determination, and an unlikely revival that is still unfolding today, revealing a woman who refuses to be defined by her past or setbacks. The mystery of Susan's disappearance. Susan Boyle's rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric. One moment, she was a quiet woman from a small Scottish town, known outside her community. The next, she became a global phenomenon after her breathtaking audition on Britain's Got Talent in 2009. Millions watched, cheered, and were moved by a voice that shattered preconceptions. Yet, despite this overnight success, many have since wondered, where did Susan Boyle go? The sudden disappearance of such a bright star from the public eye invites questions. How could someone who changed the entertainment world so dramatically almost vanish without warning? It turns out that fame can be as fragile as it is fierce. While cameras captured her powerful voice, they missed the personal toll the spotlight would exact. Behind the scenes, Susan faced struggles few saw coming. After her initial burst onto the world stage, Susan's presence diminished noticeably. Unlike many who cling tightly to the limelight, she retreated into privacy. Some fans speculated it was by choice, others suspected deeper challenges. Her retreat was never fully explained at the moment, creating an air of mystery around what was really happening. What was clear was that the public no longer heard from the woman who once captured hearts worldwide. The break from the public also sparked rumors and speculation. Some believed Susan was overwhelmed by the sudden attention. Others thought she might have faced health issues or personal setbacks. The gossip hinted at a deeper story, one of pain and resilience behind the scenes. Susan's silence only made people more curious, waiting for answers that were not readily available. This vanishing act contrasts starkly with the usual trajectory of a successful artist. Normally, a breakthrough like Susan's launches a career filled with tours, albums, and non-stop media coverage. Instead, she stepped back, leaving a gap that fans desperately hoped she would fill again. The question hung in the air: what happened between the global spotlight and her quiet withdrawal? This is the central mystery that continues to captivate her fans and the public alike. Yet, this disappearance was not a simple retreat, but part of a deeper, more complex journey. To truly understand it, one must look beyond the stage and the headlines to the life behind the music. Susan Boyle's story is woven with personal challenges, family dynamics, and health battles that shaped her path in ways many did not see. The story of her disappearance is actually a story of survival and eventual resurgence. Another layer was the pressure that sudden fame placed on Susan. The world saw a remarkable talent, but few realized how much strain the transition from anonymity to stardom inflicted. Emotional exhaustion and overwhelming media attention took a toll, forcing her to step back for her own well-being. This retreat was not a failure, but a protective act, a pause before the next chapter of her life. The shadows of our past often shape the light we cast forward, and Susan's story is no exception. Early life and family challenges. Susan Boyle was born on April 1st in the early 1960s at a small hospital near the village of West Lothian, Scotland. She was the ninth and youngest child in a modest working-class family. Her mother, Bridget, was in her late 40s when Susan was born, a pregnancy considered risky at the time. Despite medical warnings about potential dangers for both mother and child, Bridget, a woman of strong faith, chose to carry the pregnancy to term. Susan's entry into the world was far from easy. Her mother experienced complications during birth, leading to a lack of oxygen for a brief period. Doctors initially told her family Susan had mild brain damage, a diagnosis that would affect perceptions of her for many years. Back home, Susan's environment was difficult. Her father, Patrick, a veteran of the Second World War, returned deeply changed, marked by anger and instability. The family's small, crowded home in Blackburn became a place shadowed by emotional and sometimes physical pain. Susan, as the youngest child, often found herself at the receiving end of her father's outbursts. Despite this, she later reflected with compassion, believing her father fought battles within himself that he could not control. Nevertheless, the impact of these early hardships left Susan with deep scars, making it challenging for her to trust others throughout her life. School was not a place where these struggles could be avoided. Susan was labeled a slow learner by the teachers, who did not really understand how to help her needs. She was not able to catch up with her studies and was bullied by classmates without a break. Her epilepsy, which sometimes caused her to faint, was a reason for even more torment from the kids. Children would call her painful names like Susie and Simple, while a few teachers would treat her almost as if she were a criminal. The stigma of brain damage and the inability to correctly grasp her condition overshadowed the entire period of Susan's early and much of her adult life. Only after a few decades did the true nature of her difficulties get revealed. Even prior to this, Susan was already showing extraordinary fortitude by merely putting up with a childhood characterized by exclusion and misunderstanding. The story of her strength began way before she ever got to a stage. Women's family life continued to be difficult throughout their lives. Susan experienced her first love in her mid-20s, but it was followed by heartbreak soon after. Her father got involved and ended the relationship without telling her. The man moved on and had a baby with someone else, which only made it more difficult for Susan to heal her wounds about love and trust. This incident left a mark on her emotions that influenced her perception of relationships throughout her life. When her siblings moved out to live independently, Susan remained at home as a caregiver, first looking after her sick father and then her mother. She gave up her own dreams to take care of her family. Although this choice demonstrated her strong loyalty, it also led to her world becoming small and isolated. The difference between her siblings' visible successes and her more restricted path brought out the complexities that she had to deal with. Even the most incredible stories often begin long before the spotlight, and Susan's was no different. The long road to recognition. Before the world knew her voice, Susan Boyle's musical journey was a quiet and often lonely one. In the late 1990s, she recorded a song called "Cry Me a River" for a charity CD that saw only a few copies made.
You cry the long night through.
Local media praised her performance as heartbreaking, but outside her small Scottish community, hardly anyone heard it. This marked an early glimpse of her talent, remarkable yet hidden. Driven by passion, Susan used what little savings she had in an effort to break into the music world. She recorded a demo tape featuring "Cry Me a River" and "Killing Me Softly." Armed with this, she sent her recordings to music companies and television programs across the United Kingdom, hoping for a chance to be heard. But silence followed. No responses came, and those tapes were never played. Such rejection could have ended her dreams, but Susan remained undeterred. Through the early 2000s, life brought both sorrow and challenge. The sudden death of her beloved sister Kathleen, Susan's greatest supporter, left her devastated. Stricken by grief, Susan stopped singing for 2 full years. It was a silence born not of giving up, but of emotional exhaustion. Yet, the voice within her never truly faded. Slowly, she began to sing again, though her focus shifted more toward caring for her aging mother. While juggling household duties, Susan held on to her mother's encouragement. Bridget's constant reminder, "You have a gift and you must use it," rekindled a spark within Susan. fueling the hope that someday her voice would reach beyond their modest home. Susan's journey up to this point reveals a woman shaped not just by talent, but by the trials that come before success. And soon, the world would witness the moment when everything changed forever. Britain's Got Talent breakthrough. In April 2009, everything changed for Susan Boyle. At the age of 47, wearing a simple gold lace dress and with unstyled hair, she stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage in Glasgow. The audience's reaction was immediate and harsh. There was laughter, disbelief, and doubt. Many hadn't taken her seriously before she even sang a note. The judges exchanged doubtful looks, and the room buzzed with skepticism, setting the stage for one of the most unforgettable moments in entertainment history. When Susan opened her mouth to sing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, the laughter stopped instantly.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
Her voice poured out with such power and emotion, it stunned everyone present. The judges' faces transformed from doubt to amazement within seconds. Simon Cowell's jaw dropped. Amanda Holden stared wide-eyed, and Piers Morgan smiled with surprise. The audience rose to their feet, giving a thunderous standing ovation as Susan reached the song's breathtaking climax. It was a moment that rewrote expectations about age, appearance, and what true talent looks like. Amanda Holden's reaction captured the sentiment perfectly when she said, "I honestly think that we were all being very silly," a phrase that echoed worldwide. Susan's audition was a wake-up call, reminding millions not to judge others by first impressions or stereotypes. The video of her performance quickly went viral, becoming one of the most watched clips on the internet, reaching millions within days and shattering records. It symbolized not just Susan's talent, but the power of hope and second chances in a world often quick to judge. The global response was overwhelming. Celebrities like Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher shared their admiration online. News networks across continents covered her story, and the tiny church in Blackburn, where she belonged, became a surprising tourist attraction. Invitations poured in, including a memorable appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show. Within days, Susan had transitioned from obscurity to international stardom, a transformation so stark it felt almost surreal. Her journey did not stop at the audition. Returning for the Britain's Got Talent semi-finals, Susan performed Memory from the musical Cats with undeniable grace and strength.
The withered leaves collect at my feet.
As the last act of the night, the tension was high, but the moment she sang, the magic returned. The audience's cheers and the judges' praise confirmed her authenticity and staying power. Amanda Holden called it absolutely amazing. Susan won the most votes that night, proving her success was no accident. Susan had already been picked as the winner by the time the final came along. Her audition video alone had racked up nearly 200 million views, and the predictions left no doubt about her victory. A lot of people were watching the final together in different places, and the show was broadcasted live to millions in different parts of the world. However, in a surprising turn of events, dance group Diversity got the first place while votes revealed that Susan was the runner-up.
The winner of Britain's Got Talent 2009 is Diversity!
This unexpected and shocking result was a great surprise to the fans all over the world. On the other hand, the gracious Susan said nothing but good things about the event, and even congratulated the winners on live TV, saying, "The best people won."
Susan, how do you feel right now?
The best people won.
However, the intense pressure and the emotional burden of the competition made her feel like she was going through hell. There were reports of her having distressed moments backstage, which were a reflection of how deeply she was involved in the contest's outcome. Although some of the stories were amplified, they showed the human side of fame and the price paid by a rookie who was thrust into the limelight. Shortly after, Susan was taken to a private clinic in London for treatment after having an emotional breakdown. She was no longer able to handle the exhaustion and stress that came as a part of her public life, and so her experience was a very different one from the dazzling public image that many had in mind. The nights of powerful singing were followed by days of silence and recovery. The issue of her vulnerability was a factor in bringing up the conversation around mental health and the frightening impact of instant stardom. Her ordeal became a turning point, not only for her but also for the entertainment industry. Judges and producers, including Simon Cowell, admitted the errors that had been made in handling Susan's fragile situation. Cowell later pointed out the necessity of providing more care and support to artists, particularly those who suddenly become public figures and are subjected to great scrutiny. Susan's saga became a reason for change in the way that the whole scenario of fame and its accompanying pressures is dealt with backstage. Fame arrived like a tidal wave, but it carried with it challenges Susan hadn't faced before. The road ahead revealed the hidden costs of rapid success. The price of sudden fame. Sudden fame is often glamorized, but for Susan Boyle, it came with intense emotional and practical challenges.
Can be a double-edged sword, and Susan struggled afterwards with public meltdowns and family issues.
The abrupt transition from a quiet life in Blackburn to millions of eyes watching her every move was overwhelming. While the world celebrated her talent, Susan wrestled privately with exhaustion and anxiety. The scrutiny of fame did not just affect her, it also rippled through her personal life and family. After her rise, sensational headlines began to focus less on her voice and more on her personal struggles. Rumors about her mental health and well-being circulated widely. Some media outlets crossed boundaries, intruding into her private life and harassing those close to her for stories. One incident involved someone pretending to seek marriage just to test her reaction. These invasions intensified the pressure on Susan, compounding her feelings of isolation. Support came unevenly at best. While fans and certain media rallied behind her, the harshness of public exposure exacted a toll. Susan even faced controversies within her family. Reports surfaced that her brother pressured her for tens of thousands of pounds to save his business, leading to tense confrontations and damaged trust. Despite her generosity, handing out close to $2 million to family members over time, these transactions often deepened familial rifts. Adding to the strain, Susan developed health issues, including type 2 diabetes. Doctors warned her that if she didn't adopt healthier habits, she risked losing her singing voice. This alarm pushed her to make lifestyle changes, including dietary adjustments and significant weight loss. But health concerns didn't end there. She was advised to avoid illnesses that could spiral out of control due to underlying conditions. Still, amidst these struggles, Susan remained remarkably grounded. Despite earning millions through record sales and tours, she continued living in her childhood home, bought for just under $70,000. She shunned extravagance, managing her expenses carefully and maintaining simple routines like grocery shopping herself. These choices kept her connected to her roots and helped anchor her amid the chaos of fame. Relationships offered new hope. During one of her tours in the United States, Susan met a doctor in Florida who did not initially recognize her musical fame but connected with her kindness and integrity. Their friendship blossomed into something more, bringing a new dimension of happiness to Susan's life. At over 50 years old, for the first time, she found love, a testament to her resilience and enduring spirit. However, fame's unpredictable toll hit again in April 2022 when Susan suffered a stroke that nearly robbed her of her voice. This health crisis seemed devastating, given her career relied on that very gift. The following year demanded intensive rehabilitation, speech therapy, vocal exercises, and physical therapy became a daily regimen. The hard work was slow but steady, showcasing her unwavering determination to reclaim her voice and life. By mid-2023, Susan's return to the Britain's Got Talent stage signaled a powerful comeback. Her moving performance of I Dreamed a Dream brought the audience to tears, including Judge Simon Cowell, who called it the most emotional he had ever witnessed.
Susan flies in the face of every talentless monster.
Susan's recovery was a symbol not just of survival, but of hope and the strength to fight through adversity. The highs and lows of recognition shape us all, but Susan's ability to keep moving forward is what truly defines her. Career highlights and achievements. After her breakthrough on Britain's Got Talent, Susan Boyle's career soared in ways few could have predicted.
Singer Susan Boyle, she became, of course, an overnight sensation after auditioning on Britain's Got Talent in 2009. Well,
her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, released in late 2009, shattered sales records. In just 1 week, she sold over 400,000 copies in the United Kingdom alone, surpassing the previous record held by Leona Lewis. In the United States, her album sold more than 700,000 copies its first week, marking the biggest launch by a solo female artist since tracking began in the early 1990s. Worldwide, I Dreamed a Dream sold over 2 million copies in that same first week, a staggering achievement for someone new to the global music scene. By the end of 2009, her album had sold more than 10 million copies, outselling established stars like Eminem, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga in that period. Retailers struggled to keep her album in stock, and Amazon declared it the most pre-ordered album in their history. Susan's humble beginnings only made this success more remarkable. Her momentum continued beyond her debut. Over the following 2 years, she became the first woman in United Kingdom history to have 3 consecutive albums debut at #1 on the charts. These albums, I Dreamed a Dream, The Gift, and Someone to Watch Over Me, put her in rare company with legendary groups like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The Gift even reached #1 simultaneously in both the United Kingdom and the United States, a feat no other woman had accomplished before. Her persistent achievement led her to be widely recognized and celebrated worldwide. Her discs, not only in English-speaking countries, but also in such places as Japan and New Zealand, went multi-platinum. I Dreamed a Dream was at the top of that list. It got the United Kingdom's 7-time platinum and the UBS 4-time platinum certifications. Every single achievement mirrored the lasting power of Susan to draw people to her through the sound of her voice and the story she told. Susan's impact went further than just the records. She had the honor of singing at noble occasions, like Mull of Kintyre, with the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards at Windsor Castle during Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee. These are the events that made her a national treasure in the UK. Her soft and charming voice, along with her personality, became a symbol of hope and inspiration to millions of people around the globe. This success affected her finances significantly. In the past, Susan was living in a small, government-provided house in Blackburn and depending on disability benefits. By the end of her first year of fame, she had earned more than $8 million in today's money, and total worth estimates ranged from $35 to $40 million. Her riches came as quickly and as incredible as her music achievements, and she used them to change her life, but remained quite down to earth. Nonetheless, the sudden wealth also had its drawbacks. There were problems in the family, and it was reported that her brother was asking for money to save a failing business, and that financial disputes were causing the relationships to be strained. Even though she gave nearly $2 million to relatives over the course of several years, this kindness often caused disagreements instead of peace. These problems indicate that money may not be able to prevent one from having personal difficulties. The triumphs of fame sometimes mask the deep fragility beneath the surface, and Susan's health battles reflect a profound resilience born from hardship. Health struggles and recovery. In April 2022, Susan Boyle faced one of the greatest challenges of her life, a stroke that nearly stole her voice and made speaking difficult.
And Susan is the opposite. She never wished to be famous. She wanted to be a singer.
For a singer whose identity and career depended on her vocal ability, this was devastating news. The stroke forced her into a long and difficult recovery process, requiring intense physical and vocal therapy. Over the next year, Susan worked tirelessly to rebuild her strength, determination driving her every day. Her recovery regimen involved speech therapy, voice exercises, and physical workouts to regain muscle control, especially on her left side, which had been weakened. The journey was slow, demanding more than 1,000 hours of practice and rehabilitation over nearly 3 years. Each small milestone represented a victory in reclaiming her voice and independence. Her progress amazed both medical professionals and fans alike. In June 2023, Susan made an emotional return to the Britain's Got Talent stage, performing "I Dreamed a Dream" once again. The audience responded with overwhelming standing ovations. Some moved to tears. Simon Cowell called it the most moving performance he had ever witnessed on the show. It was more than a comeback. It was a testament to human strength and hope against adversity. Behind the scenes, Susan openly shared her vulnerability during this time. In interviews and social media, she spoke about moments of doubt, frustration, and exhaustion. The stroke had left her temporarily with no phone or television, and for 2 days she felt lost and disconnected. But realizing it was exhaustion that had overwhelmed her reinforced her resolve to keep fighting. Susan's story of recovery inspired countless people worldwide, especially those facing their own physical challenges. Her drive to relearn speech and singing illuminated the power of perseverance. Despite the setback, she refused to let her condition define her future, turning what seemed like an ending into a new beginning. Alongside physical recovery, Susan also managed her diabetes, a condition diagnosed earlier that added complexity to her health concerns. Doctors warned that without lifestyle changes, she risked more debilitating consequences, including losing her ability to sing. Her willingness to adopt new habits, including weight loss and careful health management, played a crucial role in supporting her comeback. This period of her life revealed Susan's inner courage as much as her vocal gift. The resilience required for rehabilitation was profound, re-establishing her as not just a singer, but a symbol of hope and strength. Her journey showed how setbacks can be temporary when met with determination and support. By early 2025, Susan had regained approximately 90% of her voice, an extraordinary recovery considering the severity of her stroke. The music community and her fans celebrated this milestone as nothing short of miraculous. With renewed energy and optimism, Susan prepared to venture forward, ready to share more music and stories with the world. Renewed and resilient, Susan's story continues to evolve, proof that life's greatest challenges can also be the forge of its strongest victories. Susan's current life and future plans. As 2025 unfolds, Susan Boyle's story is one of remarkable resilience and fresh beginnings. After nearly 3 years of intense recovery following her stroke, Susan returned to public life with renewed vigor. On her 64th birthday in April 2025, she reappeared on social media after 2 years of silence with a heartfelt message: "I'm back. Definitely back. Thank you for waiting. New music, new dreams, new beginnings." The response was overwhelming, with 500,000 likes and tens of thousands of supportive comments reflecting the excitement of fans worldwide. This social media comeback marks the start of a new chapter, where Susan balances sharing her recovery journey with exciting projects in the works. She has announced a documentary that will delve deep into her life story, her struggles, and her triumphant return. Alongside this, she is working on a charity song aimed at giving back to causes close to her heart. Live performances are also planned, signaling that Susan is ready not just to perform, but to inspire yet another generation. Her updates frequently include moments of happiness with her team, fragments of voice rehearsals, and parts of her daily workouts. This openness gives the audience an uncommon view of the great effort happening daily, thus underscoring the point that victory is always a product of persistence. For Susan, this visibility is a means of claiming her story by herself, thus changing her public persona from being merely a star to an artist and a healer. Susan then does not let her fame and new projects continue to make her distant from her original self. She is still living in the very simple house she purchased years back in Blackburn, and is still living a very simple life. Her spending style is still very modest, as she does not indulge in luxury and is still engaged in routine activities such as buying her own groceries. This everyday life has been a major factor in her emotional strength in all the ups and downs of her life. Susan's life has developed alongside her musical career. For the first time in her 50s, she fell in love during a U.S. tour where she met a delightful doctor in Florida. To their rescue, his fame was initially a non-factor in their association, which gradually matured into an important relationship. This newfound love not only brought her happiness but also stability, thus proving that life can still give new starts even at an old age. In Susan's case, the only thing she will continue to do besides advocating for mental health and resilience is to share her talent with the world. She sees her story as a powerful one that can ignite the spirit in people having the same struggles, whether they be physical or emotional. By unreservedly discussing her being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome and her health-related difficulties, she plays a big role in stigma reduction and in the promotion of acceptance and understanding. The gulf between ancient wisdom and modern suppression poses a critical question. Can humanity responsibly integrate this hidden knowledge without unraveling the social fabric? Or is intentional amnesia of our full nature a necessary element of survival? The Codex forces us to confront this paradox, challenging us to reconsider what progress really means. In the end, the silence surrounding the Codex underscores a profound tension. It hints at truths too disruptive to freely embrace, yet essential to explore if we are to understand ourselves and our collective destiny more fully. The remarkable journey from obscurity to global stardom, the challenges that tested her spirit, and the vibrant comeback that inspires millions today. Susan Boyle's story reminds us that true strength lies in perseverance and hope. If you found this story inspiring, please like this video and subscribe for more uplifting journeys.